Welcome to today's video where we dive deep into the incredible and fascinating world of rare United States coins. And if you have ever wondered whether a single penny sitting in your pocket change or resting in an old jar in your home could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, then you are in the right place because today we will explore the 1968 Lincoln cent. A coin that looks ordinary at first glance but is hiding secrets, mistakes, and minting errors that have shocked collectors and cent values skyrocketing all the way up to $700,000 in rare cases. And in this long discussion we are going to peel back every layer of history, numismatics, and rarity to show why this humble 1-cent coin struck more than 5 decades ago has become such a prized possession for enthusiasts, investors, and serious collectors all over the world. So stay tuned because by the end of this discussion you will never look at your spare change in the same way again. And the story of the 1968 penny starts with the background of the Lincoln cent itself, which was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the centennial birth of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, and designed by Victor David Brenner. It became the first regularly circulating U.S. coin to feature the image of a real person rather than a symbolic figure. The design on the obverse showing a profile bust of Lincoln facing right with the words "In God We Trust" above his head, Liberty to the left, and the year of issue to the right, while the reverse originally displayed 2 wheat ears framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, a design that later transitioned in 1959 to the Lincoln Memorial reverse in honor of the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and by the year 1968. The coinage landscape had already been through drastic changes, including the removal of silver from dimes and quarters in 1965, and the Lincoln cent remained copper-based though with the looming possibility of future metal composition changes that eventually occurred in the early 1980s when the copper content was reduced dramatically in favor of zinc cores, so the 1968 penny sits at an interesting historical crossroad, minted at the Denver Mint with the characteristic D mint mark under the date, and struck in large numbers with billions produced, making the average coin appear very common. But what makes this coin leap from being a common cent into the stratosphere of $700,000 rarity is not its base mintage or design, but rather the extraordinary minting errors, die varieties, and rare mistakes that slip through quality control and into the hands of the public, and collectors hunt obsessively for these anomalies because in the numismatic world a mistake can turn a 1-cent coin into a treasure worth a house. So what kind of errors are we talking about with the 1968 cent? Well, one of the most famous and valuable categories is the double die, where during the minting process the hub that impresses the design into the die shifts or doubles slightly, leading to letters, numbers, or features on the coin appearing doubled, and in 1968 pennies there are known examples of strong doubling, especially on the obverse and the date, the word Liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust," and when this doubling is crisp and clear it creates a rare and highly desirable coin, with collectors willing to pay hundreds of thousands for a sharp, high-grade example certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, and then there are repunched mint marks, known as RPMs, because back in 1968 the mint mark was punched onto each die by hand rather than being part of the hub, which opened the door for human error and created coins where the D mint mark appears doubled, tripled, or punched at an odd angle, and these varieties, especially dramatic examples, command serious premiums in the coin market. And moving beyond doubling, we also find off-center strikes where the blank planchet did not align correctly with the dies, leading to coins struck with part of the design missing, and when the strike is significantly off-center but still shows a complete date, the rarity and desirability skyrocket. And then we have broad strikes where the coin was struck without a collar allowing the metal to expand outward, and clipped planchets where a portion of the blank is missing, creating crescent-shaped coins, all of which add uniqueness and rarity to a coin that was otherwise meant to be uniform. And even more intriguing are transitional errors where coins are struck on the wrong planchet or using the wrong metal composition. And while most 1968 cents are bronze, weighing 3.11 grams and composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, there have been reports of transitional planchet strikes such as coins accidentally struck on dime planchets, or foreign coin planchets, that were being produced at the Denver Mint at the time, and these rare off-metal strikes are the holy grail for collectors, often fetching astonishing sums at auction, and another area of value lies in the condition of the coin, because a 1968 penny in circulated condition may not be worth more than face value unless it has an error, but in pristine uncirculated or proof-like states with original luster and no wear, the value climbs exponentially, and in mint state grades like MS65, MS66, or higher, especially when combined with errors like doubled dies or repunched mint marks, the price can reach hundreds of thousands, which is why grading services are crucial in determining authenticity and condition. And speaking of authenticity, collectors are always warned to be cautious because the higher the value, the more likely counterfeits or altered coins may appear. But with proper certification from trusted grading companies, these coins become legitimate treasures. And the 1968 penny is a fascinating study of how small mistakes during production can create a ripple effect across decades, turning pocket change into valuable artifacts. And part of the allure is that many of these rare pennies may still be sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, and collections, because with over 2 billion 1968 pennies minted, only a fraction have been carefully examined by trained eyes, meaning the possibility remains that ordinary people could stumble upon a life-changing coin in their own home. And this dream of discovery fuels the passion of collectors worldwide, making coin hunting an exciting treasure hunt that combines history, art, economics, and chance. And when we ask why would someone pay $700,000 for a penny, the answer lies not only in rarity and condition but also in the psychological value of owning something unique, something that tells a story of history, human error, and survival across decades. And such coins become trophies in collections, symbols of status, and tangible assets with appreciating value. And if we look at auctions over the years, we see that extraordinary pennies from other years with strong doubling or transitional errors have sold for hundreds of thousands and even millions, setting the precedent for the 1968 coin to reach such heights when the right error meets the right condition and the right collector's demand. And this market is fueled by stories of ordinary people finding extraordinary coins, like the famous 1943 copper penny or the 1955 double die cent, both worth fortunes today, and those stories inspire everyday people to pay closer attention to the change in their pockets, reminding us that history and value often hide in plain sight. And so the 1968 penny is not just a coin but a piece of mystery, chance, and potential wealth, one that encourages us to look closer, to learn more about minting processes, and to appreciate the artistry and imperfections that can turn metal into treasure. And as we continue to uncover and study these errors, each new discovery adds to the lore of this coin, keeping collectors excited and ensuring that the legend of the 1968 penny valued at $700,000 lives on as one of the most captivating stories in American numismatics. So the next time you come across an old penny, don't dismiss it as ordinary, because within its small copper frame may lie a fortune, a historical mistake, and a story waiting to be told. And that is the beauty of coin collecting, where the smallest details create the biggest rewards. And that is why the 1968 Lincoln cent with its errors and mysteries has cemented its place as one of the most intriguing and valuable coins in U.S. history, worth not just its face value but up to hundreds of thousands, changing lives and reminding us that treasures often come in the most unexpected forms. And this is why today we honor this coin, share its story, and inspire viewers everywhere to start looking at pennies with a new sense of wonder and possibility, because who knows? The next great discovery could be in your very own pocket. Next, 1979 1 cent USA coin, another exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare United States coins where small mistakes, overlooked minting errors, and subtle varieties can transform a simple 1 cent piece into a life-changing fortune. And today we're going to journey into the story of the 1979 Lincoln cent, a coin minted in Denver that in ordinary cases is worth just a cent, yet in extraordinary and rare situations has been valued by collectors and auction houses at $500,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $500,000 for a penny that most people would dismiss as spare change. And the journey of how and why this coin has reached such mythical heights is a story that combines history, the art of minting, mechanical failures, human error, numismatic obsession, and the universal dream of finding hidden treasure in your pocket change. So buckle in, because this is going to be a long and detailed discussion covering every aspect of the 1979 D penny, from its design to the specific types of errors and mistakes that make it valuable, to the possibilities of how such coins end up being worth as much as a luxury home, and why collectors fight tooth and nail to add one to their collections. And we begin with a bit of background on the Lincoln cent itself, which had already been in circulation for 70 years by 1979. Originally introduced in 1909 with Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse as the first U.S. coin to feature an actual historical person, and originally paired with the wheat reverse before being replaced in 1959 with Frank Gasparo's Lincoln Memorial reverse design, which is what the 1979 D coin carries, showing the small statue of Lincoln inside the memorial if you look closely with magnification, and of course the inscriptions United States of America, 1 cent, and E pluribus unum framing the reverse, and on the obverse you find the familiar right-facing bust of Lincoln with the motto "In God We Trust." Above, Liberty to the left, the date 1979 to the right, and beneath it the D mint mark indicating it was struck in Denver. And while billions were minted making this year and mint appear very common, the magic lies not in the normal but in the abnormal, in those coins where something went wrong in the minting process and created a unique survivor, a coin that is different, rare, and valuable. And before we dive into specific errors, it's important to understand that 1979 was a time when the U.S. Mint was operating at enormous production capacity, striking billions of coins across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, which meant that machinery was under constant stress, dies wore out quickly, and human errors occurred more often, all of which gave rise to the kinds of mint mistakes that collectors today treasure. And one of the most famous and valuable categories for the 1979 D penny is the doubled die variety, where during the process of transferring the design from the master hub to the working die, a slight misalignment or repeated impression leads to visible doubling on the struck coins, and for the 1979 D cent, collectors have identified doubling on elements like the date, Liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust," and when these doubled dies are bold, clear, and preserved in mint state condition, they can command prices well into the tens or even hundreds of thousands. Because doubling is one of the most dramatic and visible errors that even casual observers can detect, making it very attractive in the marketplace. And then there are repunched mint marks or RPMs, because in 1979 the mint mark was still added to the dies by hand rather than being part of the hub, which meant that slight misplacements and corrections created varieties where the D appears doubled, tripled, or offset, and these RPMs are highly collectible with dramatic examples reaching astonishing premiums. And next we move to off-center strikes, where the blank planchet failed to align properly with the dies and ended up struck partially outside the intended area, leading to coins with crescent-shaped blanks or missing design sections, and when the date remains visible on such coins, their desirability and value rise sharply, and closely related are broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the restraining collar allowing the metal to spread wider than usual, creating an unusual appearance that collectors prize. And then we have die breaks, commonly referred to as cuds, which happen when part of the die breaks off and leaves a raised blob of metal on the coin, and dramatic cuds are rare and collectible, and the 1979 D penny has produced its fair share of die breaks and chips, especially around the lettering and Lincoln's profile, adding yet another layer of possible value. And let's not forget about struck-through errors, where foreign material like grease, wire, or cloth comes between the die and the planchet at the moment of striking, leaving an impression or void in the design. And such unusual one-off mistakes are particularly appealing to collectors who enjoy owning a coin that is literally one of a kind. And then there is the most tantalizing possibility of all, off-metal or transitional errors, where a coin is struck on the wrong planchet, perhaps a foreign coin planchet being struck at Denver at the time, or even on a dime or nickel planchet accidentally, creating an anomaly that is immediately apparent by weight and appearance. And these off-metal strikes are among the most valuable errors in all of coin collecting, often fetching astronomical sums at auction. And when paired with the 1979 D cents common design, such an error becomes a six-figure rarity without question. And we cannot overlook the role that condition plays in driving up values. Because while a circulated 1979 D penny with a small error might only fetch a few dollars or maybe hundreds, an uncirculated example with booming luster, nowhere, and graded MS65 or higher by PCGS or NGC skyrockets in value, especially when the error is bold and dramatic, and this is why serious collectors send their coins to professional grading services to both authenticate and assign condition, because in the high-stakes world of rare pennies where $500,000 might be at play, authenticity and grade are everything, and when you put all these factors together, the historical context of massive minting in 1979, the types of mechanical and human errors possible, the survival rate of error coins in high grade, and the psychology of collectors seeking the next great rarity, you begin to see how a coin that cost 1 cent to make and was intended for everyday circulation can end up valued at $500,000, because the numismatic market values uniqueness, provenance, and the thrill of discovery above all else, and the 1979 D penny delivers on all counts. And just imagine the excitement of finding such a coin in your own change, a story that has happened time and again with other famous pennies like the 1943 copper cent or the 1955 double die cent, coins that were discovered by ordinary people who simply paid attention. And that possibility of life-changing discovery is what keeps collectors and treasure hunters endlessly searching, scouring coin rolls, and checking pocket change with magnifying glasses and reference books. Because the dream of turning a cent into $500,000 is as thrilling as it gets. And while billions of 1979 D cents exist, only a tiny fraction bear these dramatic errors, and even fewer have survived in pristine condition, making them truly scarce despite the enormous mintage numbers. And that scarcity is the key to their astronomical value, and what makes this story even more engaging is that many of these rare varieties may still be undiscovered, lying unnoticed in jars, drawers, or circulation. Meaning the treasure hunt is still alive today, and this fact energizes the entire numismatic community and keeps the legend of the 1979 D penny alive, ensuring that the coin remains not just a piece of copper but a symbol of opportunity, chance, and hidden value in everyday life. And so the next time you see a 1979 penny with a D beneath the date, don't just toss it aside. Examine it carefully because it could be a normal coin or it could be one of the rarest and most valuable pennies in existence, capable of changing your financial future and writing a new chapter in the ongoing saga of coin collecting. And that is the captivating tale of the 1979 D 1 cent coin worth $500,000, a story of history, error, and extraordinary value hidden in plain sight.